Fellow MPW investors, I have not actually abandoned you. It's just lately we've been getting bled slowly on low trading volume, and there just hasn't been a whole heck of a lot to report, but there have been maybe some small things that have come up that might be worth a little bit of discussion. So the last press release that we actually have was from September 11th, when they reached a global settlement agreement to get Steward out of 15 of their hospitals. So in the press release, they outlined where these hospitals are going to be divvied up and which operators are going to be taking over. So Healthcare Systems of America will be taking over the biggest chunk, which is 5 Southeast Florida hospitals, 2 East Texas hospitals, and 1 Louisiana hospital. Honor Health, which is here in Arizona, where I reside currently, they'll be taking over 3 hospitals. Quorum Health will be taking over 2 in West Texas, and then Insight Health will be taking over 2 in Ohio. Now, I've heard some possible speculation, some issues potentially with Quorum. Perhaps they are not in a much better position than what Steward's been in, but the way I view it at the moment is that they're spreading the risk sufficiently where if let's say something bad happens with Quorum. Okay. Well, then MPT is in the position of dealing with a situation that involves 2 hospitals instead of, 15 or 20 or 30. And you avoid having these kind of Steward-sized issues to kind of untangle. It's a lot more easy and manageable for a company like MPT to deal with a 2 hospital issue than a 20 hospital issue. So I still like these odds a lot better than what we had with Steward. So I think this is a move in the right direction. Obviously, this doesn't make things necessarily a sure thing to the upside for our investment, but it is a positive development nonetheless. Now, we haven't really gotten any press releases since this one on the 11th, but there are some final dates pertaining to some of the Steward wrap-up stuff coming in later this month in October. So maybe we'll get some more positive news by that point. Speaking of positive news, if you use my exclusive link to sign up for today's sponsor, which is Moomoo, you can get up to 15 free stocks when you deposit $1,000, and you can get, for the first 3 months, 8.1% bonus APY on uninvested cash. I recently fired up Moomoo and bought options for the first time on the platform. Now, getting options access was pretty simple and straightforward. Answered the questionnaire as pretty much every brokerage requires, and had my response back virtually instantly on that. So if you want to do stocks, options, ETFs, pretty much the world is your oyster when it comes to Moomoo. They also have some of the best margin rates if you use margin. They were better last time I checked than both my M1 Plus margin rate and my Robinhood Gold margin rate, which those are paid services. So the fact that Moomoo offers you all of these perks for free and up to 15 free stocks, and who knows, maybe you could end up with shares of MPW when you claim your free stocks. Who knows? I got shares of Grab, which is a company that you guys know I invest in. So give it a try. Let me know what you think. So anybody that's been on this channel for a while, you know that I always tend to take the analyst targets with a grain of salt. When it comes to MPT, I almost entirely disregard them. I remember seeing Deutsche Bank drop the target to $2 when the share price had collapsed to about $3. And it's like, why? Well, because the price was down a lot and it looked like it was times were negative. Therefore, obviously, in a year, it's going to be even lower, right? Because it's recently lower and sentiment's at a low. That's not, to my mind, an intelligent way to view this stock. And I don't know that any of the other analysts are really looking at it any better. Now, we have somebody out there with a high target of 7, which I think actually that's maybe somewhat reasonable over the next 12 months, though I do think there is a chance it could shoot past that in a shorter time, depending on what developments happen over the next couple quarters. So I'm personally setting aside these estimates and just going off of what I see. All right. So let's take a look at some valuation and go from there. So what do I see? I see a price to book of 0.56, meaning as of today's trading, the book value is probably just right around $10, right? Because the stock is trading around $5.60 a share. Price to book is 0.56, so probably about $10 in book value. There may be another write down because of a lot of the finalization of some of the Steward stuff, and yeah, so there may be like one last impairment on all of that. So we might be looking at like, not call it like 950 or something of book value in actuality. In a normal world, usually this trades on a multiple of FFO. That is a little bit more reasonable. Plus, it turns out to be a multiple of book value of about 1.2 or so. That's kind of just normal for this. And so that would be right around a 2x or so from here. What will it take to get there? Well, I think getting back to a more normal dividend level, perhaps going from 8 cents to 10 cents is a kind of a signal like, hey, we're back. The assets are out of bankruptcy and we're serious about restoring our dividend. I think that would probably help the stock price. And just as time becomes more distant between the stink that Steward left and whatever the present moment is, and that's of course a time heals all wounds type thing. And then of course there is the tightly wound short interest situation where at some point you would think that they would need to exit, which could add a lot of buying pressure. Could it be a squeeze? Potentially. Speaking of the shorts, I was on X, which you should follow me there, Mr. Macho Mog, and I saw an interesting update from Abe. He pulled a fun little screen grab from the Viceroy lawsuit. Those are the grand poobahs of short selling, as it were. Okay, so if some of you follow the Yahoo boards, you know who Abe is. I talk to him sometimes on Twitter, and he was looking over, I guess, the latest filings from the defamation lawsuit that MPT filed against Viceroy, and he found this little nugget in there. Now, I don't have all the context or anything, but I do find this at least funny and interesting because obviously the short interest is a big part of the story with MPW. It's one of the possible catalysts. Obviously, shorts covering would be a lot of buying pressure and it would help the share price. So one of the big claims that they've made is intentional overpayment for basically low value assets paying a premium. Essentially, that's kind of what they've alleged. And in some communication that was found in the discovery process for the court case, it looks like they have said that they cannot actually prove the intentional overpayment. They already published the report in spite of not having that proof, highlighted by the too late comment. And then just agree they have to make a stand on that given the circumstances, ... So there was probably some other banter, and then it's so great not having a compliance department. Now, a compliance department is sort of like a little bit of like an equivalent, almost like I think of it similar to how like an HR department exists, so that the company doesn't get like sued for like harassment or discrimination or anything like that. The compliance department is also there to kind of keep a company out of hot water in things like running afoul of the Securities Exchange Commission, or getting basically putting their foots in their mouths and getting taken to court for things like this, or for running afoul of any kind of like business ethics type scenarios. And they're happy not to have one. Nobody there to make sure they color in between the lines and stay on the right side of certain rules and regulations, I suppose. So funny that. Now, granted, like I understand, the desire to not be a fan of the red tape that you think holds you back from doing what you think is what you need to do in your business. But I think when it's this kind of a situation where you're telling potentially what are alleged to be tall tales about a company and getting taken to court for it, it's funny then in retrospect to see you laughing about being glad not to have a compliance department who may have kept you out of this particular brand of hot water to begin with if they existed. So that's all I've got for you on MPT. If you made it to the end of the video, you can support me by liking for the algorithm, subscribing to the channel, helping me build the audience, continuing to watch every single video. Join my Discord, link in the description, to join the conversation around stocks that we like to have. Now, you can also support the channel directly by being a member. Follow me on the X platform at Mr. Macho Mog. Additionally, if you want to direct support the channel, memberships are cheap, but you can also sign up for the sponsor Moomoo using my exclusive link in the description below. When you sign up there and deposit funds, that also helps support the channel. There's many things you can do, and any of them I appreciate. Also, keep in mind, you can catch me every Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern on the Cashflow Kings Live YouTube channel. We always have interesting guests and dialogue on there. Take it easy, everyone. Have a wonderful day.